Hannibal back here from the HannibalTV.com with a daily wrestling news update for you. As far as General Adnan Al-Kaisi, Billy White Wolf's passing yesterday at 84. Couple notes regarding his career: the WrestleMania 7 event where he managed Sergeant Slaughter. One of my favorite WrestleManias, by the way. Great card, top to bottom. The reason why it was changed from the LA Sports Arena to the LA Coliseum, which, by the way, LA is one of my favorite cities in the US, after Phoenix. Only 14,000 tickets were sold in an arena that was going to be set up for about 100,000. So that's why it was removed and switched to the Coliseum, which holds around 20,000. The Ultimate Warrior match at SummerSlam 91. The reason that Vince fired Warrior after the match against Adnan Al-Kaisi, the Iron Sheik, and Sergeant Slaughter, the match made in hell, was because Warrior demanded to be paid equal to Hogan, and Vince didn't want to pay Warrior equal to Hogan. Becky Lynch will not be on the India TV special this weekend that apparently is not going to air in the US or on Peacock because they wouldn't let her go through customs with a torn passport. It's weird that this happened yesterday and the show isn't until this weekend, and that seems fairly petty. So yeah, it wasn't due to terrorist reasons. That was the excuse they used, Dev. But anyways, back to Becky Lynch. I just find it weird that they wouldn't, with WWE's connections, had tried to get her through a different airport because there was still several days to get to India. But obviously, she wasn't that important to the card, and it's just an India card that's supposedly sponsored by Sony. It's only going to be in about an 8,000 seat building. Apparently, according to Dave Meltzer, there's a good chance CM Punk could end up in WWE. Vince McMahon has been very forgiving to people in the past, such as Warrior, Billy Graham, Brock Lesnar, and a long list of others. And there's lots of people that Punk could feud with. And he brought up a valid point that I agree with. It's not like when they didn't want him before, where he hadn't been on TV or done anything. He's been featured as probably AEW's top star for the past year, and definitely the most newsworthy star in AEW for the past year. So he's coming in hot, and he'd probably be cheered. Cody Rhodes jumped from AEW to WWE and has had massive success. So it's a good chance they could take him. It's going to be a decision of Endeavor, Tony Khan, Triple H, and probably people can say what they want. Vince McMahon still has a lot of pull. WWE, by the way, used blood. Apparently used intentional blood in a match involving Braun Breaker on NXT. They blacked out the screen, but for the people in the audience took pictures and there was a blade job done. So for WWE, that was insulting AEW for using blood. Well, now they're back to using blood. Gable Stevenson, as discussed before, pulled out of the Worlds, which was interesting because he dominated the two qualification events to the Worlds and he had never won a world title. So it could be a case of WWE not approving him. All Out apparently might do under 100,000 buys. Payback had the weakest lineup of the year, only a few good matches, according to a lot of people that watched it. For anyone that cares about New Japan, Kevin Kelly is going to be done with New Japan after Wrestle Kingdom and New Year's Dash. He works from home. PFL might be buying Bellator. They're asking $500 million, which is overblown for Bellator, which is pretty irrelevant these days. Has mostly older fighters and not too many stars. And UFC definitely doesn't want it. Dana White has publicly laughed at the possibility of buying Bellator. So, but apparently it's likely to be sold soon. So who knows? The Saudi Arabia Investment Fund recently put a lot of money into the PFL. Yeah, it's too bad Braun Breaker's been stuck in NXT because to me, and I've said this a million times, he should be the one to end Roman Reigns' streak. He has the biggest upside of anyone in WWE right now. Yeah, 500 million is what Bellator wants for a company that the last Bellator match I remember was the Jake Hager one. Who, by the way, I guess he's making way more money in AEW because he never ended up. The last couple fights he had were controversial and far from dominant. He did very well though. He definitely didn't insult the wrestling business or anything, but wrestling's a better decision for him. I don't think, to be honest, as I said, when Honky was Intercontinental Champion, everybody knew the Honky Tonk Man. And people can say wrestling is extremely popular now all they want. I mean, you hardly see wrestling shirts around town. Back in the Attitude Era in the 80s, you'd see wrestling shirts everywhere. So, I mean, also I'm biased because I grew up when Honky Tonk Man was Intercontinental Champion, but I don't even think it's comparable because Gunther just isn't really mainstream known at all. And who do I think should dethrone him? I'm not a WWE fan. I only follow the behind the scene news. Brock Lesnar is pretty much the only wrestler I like in there. John Cena, I'll watch his matches. I don't mind John Cena. He's a part timer. Roman Reigns isn't bad, but his matches are too predictable. So as far as Gunther, I don't take anything away from him being. I don't think he's a bad wrestler or anything, but I just don't care. I don't care at all. I'm more sad about the Honky Tonk Man losing his record, even though he can be a hell of an asshole at times. I still rather that he keep his record. Yeah, and what about there was actually a poll done on this, a test done on this, and when people were asked about wrestlers, people were still saying The Rock, Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin, Ric Flair, the Macho Man. When the random polls were being done, and John Cena was another name that was being thrown around in there. So it's not like the old days where like now it's more WWE the company's popular than the individual wrestlers. Oh, we'll get Rick Martel for you one day, Grandma Daisy. Apparently Mike McGurk is a very hard one. I mean, she's apparently extremely unreliable and has no showed a bunch of people. So that might be a tougher one, but I'll get her eventually too. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews,